Hey guys, this is Avengaar, and I'm just going to give kind of a breakdown of a PvZ I played here against Zerg Girl on ladder, and it's just basically going to be helping to explain some of my thought process during it and sort of why I choose my builds and in this game specifically. So I'm going to kind of speed ahead when things get boring. It's a pretty standard game for the most part, so I think it could be interesting for some newer players of why the standard is what it is, or at least my thought process behind why I do what I do. So I'm going to keep up the units tab here a lot instead of production, just because I think it shows a better story of the current state of the game. So I'm going to speed it up here. I start with a Nexus first, pretty much always, especially on this map, but I'm always going to still probe scout at 9. So you see, I come to first check for an early pool, and then I check to see if there's a hatch here, and you see I'm rallied to check if there's another hatch right away. I do that because I do know it puts me a little bit behind compared to not scouting that early, but if I do see an early pool, I can hold it a lot easier. I'm putting my pylon here, which is a little bit risky for an early pool. If it had been a 12 pool, and I had my pylon here, I would have had a very hard time walling off if I didn't scout. So I'm allowed to put my pylon here so I can put my double gateway here, and that allows me to basically hold off if there was an early pool. And it's better later too, as you'll see. So I am going to, in response to seeing no pool again here, see me waiting for it, I don't see a pool. That means I know it's going to be a fast 3 hatch before pool, and I'm about to confirm that. That means I'm going to, as she's trying to block it, doing a good job, I'm going to drop a second gateway here. I do this whenever I see a fast third base, because essentially I want that third hatchery to be useless for a while. The only thing it's going to be good for them is spreading creep and building queens. It costs you a lot of money to build a hatch this early. If you look, I'm ahead already, two workers, because this doesn't do anything for a while. It is production, but she doesn't have the money to be able to build drones out of all 3 of these hatches. So if I bring units across the map early on, I can slow down her ability to build a lot of drones very quickly. So I'm going to kind of speed it up here. Pretty average. I'm on 1 gas at this point, waiting for my cyber core to go down. And then I'm going to not build a zealot. I don't think I need it. She's not going to have built early lings or to put her way behind. So I don't think I need the zealot. Stealing my gas here, which is a bit of an annoyance, but I just take a gas at my base instead. I'm about to build 2 adepts here once my cyber core finishes, and I'm going to chrono both those out. I would not chrono these if there was an overlord that's getting vision. I don't see this overlord if you look, but because I think people will build those lings a lot earlier. She now sees it, and the adepts are on their way. She probably has a good idea what's happening here, so there's a good chance that she's going to build some lings, or at least some sort of defense. I'm just killing this with my mothership core, not wasting the time with any units. The adepts will take such a long time to kill it anyway. So they're going to come in here, and when I do this game, is I try my hardest not to dive in and lose these adepts. I think a lot of players make the mistake, even pros I see make the mistake a lot, of diving in looking for drone kills. And I do think you can get a lot of drone kills that way sometimes. I think maybe you only get 4 max if there's queens and this many lings out. You can maybe get more if they're bad. But you lose all your map control. So I kill, like, what did I kill? A few lings? I kill 3 lings. And I'm about to regenerate that shield. So that was just free for me right now. And these adepts are going to go back in and just kind of keep repeating this process until I need the APM for other things. I don't want to dive in because this is my only way to know if she's pulling up 30 zerglings or something. So I'm kind of repeating the process. Kill the creep tumor. So real quick here, here's a big choice with mine. So I'm taking a Nexus, seeing that she doesn't have speed yet. Speed is not even started yet, which is, I think, it doesn't seem like it's honestly a mistake. She's just a little bit behind here. And my response is going to be to take a fast Nexus and go into a Stargate. I am a bit afraid of the common meta to do a Roach Ling Ravager attack, kind of, once they drone up a little bit. I guess if we look at units. This is probably about the amount, so I'm a little bit scared. I'm going to dive in probably with these. I don't know if those cancel or not. Nope. They're going to go in here, especially because I want to see if there is a lot of roaches or any tech that's kind of hanging out on the edge here. I'm really afraid of that big attack. Because if I do commit really heavy into Stargate, I mean, I only have 2 gateways right now, so I really have very little ability to hold any big, massive units. And those adepts are actually going to get out anyway, which is really great for me. I'm quickly dropping more Stargates, and I'm going to drop a Robo Facility to try and get out a fast Immortal. A lot of players, especially Koreans, are building a double Stargate here. I think they're also building it a little bit later, too. But I'm going to go for a fast Oracle instead, just to try and see if I can get any work done here. I'm supply blocked, I think. Yeah, quality play there real quick. And we're just going to see if I can get a few workers with that. Its main goal, once again, is going to be scouting. I'm going to commit to a few Phoenixes later, as you're going to see. But those are not going to be for doing a lot of damage. So, just clearing out Overlords. Getting a good pick off here. I don't know if she knows if I have an Expo. No, she doesn't know, because I've actually been very vigilant. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, I've actually been very vigilant with this Stalker. I built it at the same time as I build my 3rd Adept, so that I can clear out Overlords and kind of keep them in the dark a little bit. She probably normally would Ling Scout here. I don't think she's very scared yet, though. She takes a 4th base, assuming I took a 3rd, which is a very safe assumption. Up a good amount of drones. So I'm going to go in here and see what I get done. Probably not a ton. I'm going straight for drones. It's got 4, 5, and a little bad micro. But good micro there, and I get out perfectly. So I just got 7 kills there, putting me less far behind. I have pretty strong tech behind this. So, I think she was scouting with a changeling here. I'm not sure where that... Yep, so that Overseer's probably seeing everything I was doing. So she sees that I'm probably going for some sort of Stargate Phoenix play or something. So it looks like she's trying to put on a little aggression, see if she can do that Rotator attack. Over-droned this space a little bit. I think she's... Oh, never mind, that's just the drones from there. And we're going to see if I hold this. So I'm going to play this from her vision. Let's see. She's got all these Lings, and it looks like she can probably get something done. I don't have that many units. But then you see Overcharge is really good, turns out. I lose that Stalker, which is kind of a pain. But it's really hard to get a lot done with Lings with this type of Sin City. She can't run by, and I can kind of just overcharge. So we're going to fast forward here. So at this point, I make a decision kind of in my mind as a player, what type of player it feels like she is. I'm seeing really defensive style play. This was the first main attack. It wasn't really meant to do much, I don't think. I think it was more of a poke. So I'm going to make the choice to sort of play greedy along with her, not try and all-in her, but I also don't think she's going to try and bust me at this point. So I can kind of just build up safely and try and play the economy game. You see, she's going to drone really hard. So now it's kind of my job to either go into the later game with her and trying to get my economy up to that point, or go for a big enough attack to set her back. This is going to be one of the things I want to talk about here. Is I'm only building 2 Phoenixes at this point. If we look at units, yeah, I only have 2. The only reason I'm building these is for vision and scouting and maybe a few pickoffs. I should probably have built more around 3 or 4, but I really want to minimize the amount of these I'm building. I want to just scare her off of mutas, and that's the main reason I think a lot of players are going for Phoenix too, is it's really hard to deal with mutas in Legacy of the Void if you don't have Stargate because of how spread out you get. If you look real quick here, if I'm playing Blink Stalker, only assume these are Stalkers or whatever, or assume they're not. It doesn't really matter. If the mutas come in back here and I have to just try and overcharge and things, there's a good chance my Mothership Core is going to get picked off, and I can move those Stalkers back into this area. But then as soon as they fly over this wall, I have to also have Stalkers back here. Then they can kind of go along this wall and move back. I still have this whole big open area to defend. It's really just not very viable to try and defend a lot of bases, especially if I'm trying to take this base as my 4th. There's almost no way I'm going to be able to defend all the bases without Phoenixes. So if you preemptively go into early Phoenix against Zerg, it really doesn't let them be able to go into mutas because you already have the hard counter. So I'm just showing these Phoenixes pretty early because I'm like, don't go muta, I have the counter, basically. I don't want her to play muta. I don't want to have to counter muta. I think it's a pain to have to play against. So these are more of the preemptive scare you type Phoenixes. And they're just going to scout and clear Overlords. I don't know how well of a job they do. They're mainly going to be for scouting for me. And that's what this Oracle's doing too. I'm just trying to keep this Oracle in checking drone counts, seeing how far I am ahead or behind. At this point, I honestly think I'm not in great shape. I actually turned out to be pretty good shape. But I know she's been droning really hard this whole game and really hasn't built much for units. I haven't seen these units. So I'm a bit afraid of a big lurker pop at some point here. So you're going to see me just kind of poking in and out. I think these Phoenixes just kind of kill these Overlords so I can keep this Oracle hanging out over here for a while longer. I'm going to be transitioning into basically the standard comp. I'm building Mortals out of one Robo right now only. I'm only doing the one Robo at this point. Getting upgrades, and I'm adding on High Templar. Those are probably going to be Archons here in a sec. I don't think I'm going to go Storm at this point. Yeah, no Storm. Storm just takes a little bit too long. I think in the Archons are going to be needed for that extra DPS, because I am assuming it's going to be Heavy Lurker. I don't actually know that for a fact. I'm just kind of guessing at the meta and what she might be going for a comp here. Keeping these Phoenixes over here because I'm assuming she's going to take a base at any second here. And she does. So I see this. I'm not sure if she sees me. Nope, I'm hanging out. I'm hiding. So just keeping up my vision. I cleared out the middle of the map of Overlords. This is pretty sloppy. I leave this Overlord here for a long time. But I'm getting up that fourth base and kind of just building up that standard comp here. I also see a lot of pros kind of make the mistake. I know I'm critiquing pros, and it sounds like a ridiculous thing to be doing for somebody like me, but I think they just get caught in a thing where they build too many Immortals and too many tech units, and you get caught with a really low Zealot count. And the Zealots are really important at this point because they Immortals aren't easily replaced. I don't know, you may have a huge Immortal count, but they can just as easily have a million Hydras, and then you get caught with your pants down and they don't really do much of anything. Where these Zealots are going to at least be able to tank the shots and sort of be viable in any situation without costing them millions of minerals and gas and build time on your Robo. So I see what her comp is. I don't see any Lurkers at this point, though. As I'm preemptively starting to get out, I'm still going double Immortal. I think I have two Disruptors, one Disruptor. I have one Disruptor at this point. I'm going to build another one here in a second. I'd only want to ever use a low number of Disruptors as a player. This is kind of where I differ from a lot of higher level players, is I don't think I have the control to control large amounts of Disruptors against large amounts of Lurkers. So I'm only going to build two, I believe, maybe a few more later as they die. But we're going to keep that count low, and then I'm going to start building Colossus, which may be a weird... I'm at this point not committing to range. I just want a few, maybe one at this point. We're going to probably build another one. It's a Disruptor. But the idea behind the Colossus is that they aren't going to require the massive amount of micro that the Disruptors are, yet they still have long-range siege and DPS against what I'm assuming, as I've said many times, is a million Lurkers, and they're starting to come in here. I think these are Ravagers, though. And Ravagers as well. They're quite good against Ravagers. So are Disruptors, though. I'm kind of to change my point a bit here. I'm harassing and keeping vision on this base. I was trying to catch a few workers off guard and thought maybe I could take the hatch down if she was moving out. I'm keeping a few pylons. This is somewhat of an old school strategy here, where you always want to have a million proxy pylons, especially when you're going charge lots. I'm wasting chronos because I don't know how to use the new chrono. Especially when you have a lot of charge lots, they can just shred bases. So at any point, if I see this army and I've got a lot of extra minerals and I'm winning, I can warp in 10 charge lots here or whatever and just shred this base. I don't know if this DTs or Zealots get anything done. Okay, so let's pause real quick here. I am clearing Overlords again and scouting a little bit with these Phoenixes, and I'm getting ready to fight an engagement here. Let's look at my vision. I think I may have seen her in this general area, but I didn't see this move up into this point. Pre-spreading my units, very important. I don't want to have them in a big clump, because if I'm not watching that exact moment and those Lurkers get off like one volley across here, there's a good chance it's just game. Because they'll kill pop all my Immortal Shields in one shot, and they'll kill all of my armored units very quickly, especially Disruptors. So you want to pre-split and hold position, especially if you're not watching your units. So I'm actually going to get a really strong engagement here. So I do end up concaving a little bit, or putting myself in a little bit of a ball, but it is a little bit better. She's got her Lurkers a little bit too far up front, I think, here, because she was trying to poke. The engagement happens, and these ling flank's a good idea, but I don't think that 10 lings or whatever is really going to do anything meaningful. I'm going to get some okay Disruptor shots here, shooting them into the back lines to try and keep them away from these Lurkers. Instead of shooting the Disruptors on top of the Lurkers, which would probably just kill my Zealots, I'm trying to hit big clumps of Ravagers, because they are very expensive, and I'm going to kill these Lurkers probably anyway. So I get a bunch of Lurkers, and my Disruptors run in to headbutt them. Very important strategy. They're good at headbutting. I'm just kidding. Bad micro there. So it looks like it's going kind of badly for me, and then it starts to kind of turn when the Immortals are still left in the back. And I take a pretty good fight here. The problem is I'm going to have to move on to creep because I haven't cleared creep in a while. But I am going to push across the map to kind of force her to respond to this. I am a bit afraid of a few things. I know she's got a huge economy in this game. I would have guessed she has a bigger bank. I'm actually up on units just because I killed her army here. But I would have guessed that this is either going to be some sort of mass lurker once again, or eventually Broodlord type play. So I'm going to keep building. I think I'm going to keep building Colossus here, which is a strange idea for a lot of players. I think that the idea right now is that Colossus are very weak and you don't want to be building them in any situation against Zerg, really. But if it is Broodlords, they're actually pretty good against Broodlords, and if it is Lurkers, they're quite good. The only thing that they're quite weak against is Ultralisks. But I feel like you can just deal with Ultralisks for the most part with Archons and whatever. I don't think that they're that big of a deal when I'm on double Robo, unless I completely get caught with like Mass Stalker, which I'm not doing at all. So I'm kind of poking here, clearing creep. I see she has a lot of stuff, and I'm kind of scared. I'm really just trying to force a lot of units that aren't Broodlords at this point, because I know that I'm not ready for that type of tech yet. So poking around, I'm trying to take in this base probably, and doing a good job denying that. Put up these pylons for aesthetic value. I still have these pylons here. This is actually very important to this game. You see me keeping these up, and I know she doesn't have this base. I really can't imagine she's got these bottom ones down here. So I'm fine, honestly, sitting on these many bases. Maybe I should take another one here soon, but it's not the end of the world. I'm not down too much economy, probably. So I'm going to keep building Colossus here and build up to just really kind of a silly... I'm going to start building something else here because I do have a lot of them. Build up kind of a silly amount of Colossus numbers here. They're quite weak against Viper Pole, but everything is kind of weak against Viper Pole in this army. So that's I'm not sure if that's an issue or not. Glad the creep proceeds faster here. So we're just going to give all vision here. And she is building up a very similar army. I don't think her army choice is very strong here. It looks like she's going for a hive and then getting up ultras, but she doesn't have the melee upgrades, really. And she's just starting +1 melee. So you would think that I would have made the wrong choice here with the Colossus, but it is going to allow my army to have a lot of kiting capability. She doesn't have infestors, so they're not really going to be that bad. The issue comes in when you have Colossus is when you either get flanked really heavily, or if you get locked down with fungal. But she doesn't have the infestors, as I just said, so we're going to be okay. Scouting. These DTs do probably nothing. No, they die. So that was a free feed. She's got really good defense here. That's a lot of defense. This army is extremely weak. I probably could have moved across an end of the game at this point, and I let her kind of build up this sliding ultra. It's just sliding around. That's kind of a funny bug. And reestablishing this base. So we're both maxed out, and I think she wants to clear up a lot of this roach supply without losing the game. So I'm killing that pylon. But I do have, so the Zealot's quickly going to be there. I'm pretty sure she's going to take that. I do take that advantage to move across the map. As you saw, I saw a bunch of Ultralisks and a lot of units moving all the way over here to kill a pylon. And they also moved around this corner. I took that advantage to take this point, which I feel is an extremely strong point on the map. Once I get in this little choke here, I am going to be really strong against Ultras. So I take this opportunity to pick this base off, just burst it down, don't give a crap about the drones. I'm just on a base. I need to kill bases at this point. Somehow she's oversupply. Must have been doing something cool to do that. Alright. So I've got this giant artificial force field and lots of observers so I don't die to lurkers. And the Zealots are going to die pretty quickly, but because she only has +1 weapons, I'm not super afraid of fighting like this, because I am quite clumped up. I think that protecting the Immortals back here is going to be more important. So I'm going to get flanked, which is a good move on her part. But it's going to take so much time that she's going to lose this front line. And I do lose a few Colossus kind of needlessly. But then they can move up here on this. I was microing over here, I believe. And I have a very, very expensive army left. And we're trading somewhat evenly. If you want to look at the production tab. I'm just building the most expensive units I possibly can. Still working on upgrades. I've got this base running, and I've gotten adding on more and more gateways here. Yeah. Real quick about this. So I always put a cannon up here, because I'm sick of lurkers walking. I mean, understandably, they can go sit right here and kill a cannon, but I'm sick of the walking the lurkers or roaches or whatever up here and just poking down when you're microing. So I usually build a pylon, leave 2 zealots, build a cannon. I do something to make sure that they can't just freely walk units up here. At one point in this game, I brought some stalkers over here and tried to poke down on this ground, because it is extremely annoying. I could have probably sat up here if I wanted to do other engagement style. I could have brought my army and just sat right here, and it would have been really hard for him to break me, especially with Colossus on a map like this. Because if I'm sieging you with Colossus down here and they're up here, I just walk him back and forth, and he's got to split his army and crush it in between here, and it's just not a fight you really want to take. So at this point, I'm taking a pretty decent lead. I took that base out, and I still have a massive army. I am expecting, if this does get cleaned up, that it's going to be Broodlords again. I'm not going to be right, but I'm very weak to air, and I know it. So I have 5 Archons, but I have a lot of Immortals and Colossus and a Disruptor that literally does nothing against. If he even gets like 2 Broods, it's going to be a pain. So I'm kind of scared of that. So I'm just building a lot of air units and Colossus just to kind of build my ball up again. I'm really low on gas, so I'm not building Archons. Hence, otherwise I probably would be. I'm building carriers, just I don't know, just to try and get the ultimate army. I'm not sure if that was a good choice. They probably should have been Tempests. I don't think it's going to be relevant. So I've got these Colossus, as were previously said to probably be bad, but I can kite pretty well here. So I'm kiting here with making those Archons kind of take the damage. I'm going to lose this army, but hopefully do my best of softening these Ultras up. At home, I am building a few Archons. I just borrowed my gas one, I guess. Trying to build up a good kiting army. I don't want to build too many Zealots, but I want a few just to kind of create that little buffer. So I've got 5, which is probably a good amount. Maybe I build a few more. And I'm going to build an army that can kite him around. I know I'm actually in a pretty good spot at this point, though. Just as I know I killed these 2 bases. This one's going back up, but this one didn't get reestablished. I've got this Zealot scouting here. I think the Zealot's about to go in to see if she actually rebuilt this. I see it's not rebuilt, and I know that I just have to defend now. I'm figuring some sort of big attack is coming in, and there's no reason for me trying to go be aggressive. Kill off all those fake Zealots. What are they called? Changelings. Alright, so the way I'm engaging here is I've got a pretty good clump of Zealots to try and just soak up a little bit of fire, and I'm going to try and kite back. Zealots honestly ended up being kind of bad. Those should have probably been Stalkers or something. And I'm going to use the slow attack speed of Archons to try and kite back. They're not really great at standing and fighting Ultras just because they attack so slow, especially. So I'm going to kind of kite back into my little choke here, put as many overcharges as I can. This game's looking to be pretty over at this point. I think I actually grabbed some probes. I'm pushing forward. My army too strong for this. Too many Archons. And I'm going to push forward to the win here. So, I guess I might as well let the game finish here. So, somewhat of an interesting game. I'm not sure if it was necessarily super close at any point, but I always thought it was when I was playing it, at least. It's difficult to get the perfect information when you're playing. You see a lot of drones and you see a lot of bases, and I'm instinctively guessing as a player she's going to try and go for some mass late game type of army comp, and I'm really assuming it's not going to be the Roach, Hydra, Ravager type style she played. I think that if she had played a faster, heavier lurker style, I may have been in some trouble, because a lot of those Roaches just essentially didn't do much of anything. I was just basically trying to go through my thought process in this game. Hopefully it was helpful. Talk pretty fast, sorry about that. I'm trying to keep the video a little bit shorter. I know this video has probably gotten very long. If you have any suggestions for type of things you'd like to see or thought processes and things, I'm happy to give my opinion in a video or something like that. I obviously am not the best player in North America by any means, but I like to give hopefully a opinion that isn't all about the professional Korean scene. I mean, I think a lot of strategies you get are maybe only viable to some degree at the highest level. I'm not a big fan of heavy Disruptor Blink Stalker play just because I don't think it's very viable for anybody outside of the very best. So thanks for watching, guys. Sorry if this video was too long. Just let me know what you think about it, and thanks. Bye.